I want to read you the letter I told you I would read you yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
It's from a teacher, and we're just going to go with Karen from Venezuela.
Perfect.
But I have reason to know that that's not her name. It's a real person and a real letter.
And I was corresponding with her yesterday, so I'm glad that you finally did get the email.
And I would like to advise her to quit calling me Grandpa. Very few people. There's some people that are allowed that, but you're not one of them, Karen from Venezuela.
Karen, I can concur. He hates that when I do that. Hates it.
I'm a young grandpa.
I get an earful off the air.
Hello, Grandpa Joe. Ooh. I got this over the weekend. It's your biggest fan, a born and raised GLer who was recently refound the podcast simply because I'm a fan of Kenny the Traffic Daddy from My Talk.
Nice.
I stumbled upon GL and got many strange flashbacks to sitting in the back of my dad's VW as he drove me home from my private Christian elementary school, hearing that damn foghorn. And I happen to be a Euphorian Millennial teacher who proudly lives by some rather tall buildings. Why would a Euphorian Millennial teacher who lives in a city, teaches in a major public school system, proudly sometimes a part of my union, Instagram stories about AOC and Bernie Sanders, absentee voted for Biden, and wrote her master's thesis on how the school systems are racist and segregate black boys into special education classrooms due to behavior issues, listen daily to GL and a bunch of old white dudes bitching for an hour and a half a day, you might ask. All right?
Well, she's got us nailed.
Well, to simply put it, I don't know. Growing up a proud libertarian because my parents were, I ended up graduating high school, doing missions for a Christian organization for a year, then went to a private undergrad where I got my elementary education degree, and then boom, I turned into a leftist. Ended up getting my master's degree of special education from another private school to work with students with emotional behavior disorder and became an even further leftist. I found it hard to navigate my own personal beliefs and thoughts surrounded by the education system and the students I was serving. I would cry most nights my first year of teaching and was conditioned that I was the problem with the education system and was constantly told that I, as a white woman coming from a lot of privilege growing up in the western suburbs of Minneapolis, was doing more harm to my students than good. Listening to GL, I have become more aware of what you speak about in the education system is in fact true. Too many people at the top, all making different decisions and different plans with little effectiveness for the students' academic growth. Listening to a school board meeting my district just had, a lot of parents and students testified that they are ready to go back in person and actually told the school board and super that it is shameful that it took until January for them to even communicate to the public any talks of phase 2 of reopening. Most of the teachers in the union who testified told the school board that there is blood on their hands if they send us back. I am one of a few teachers who volunteered to go back with 300 special education students this coming week, and I'm embarrassed to tell my colleagues that I volunteered due to the fact that they think it's all BS to go back. How sad is that? A single teacher living alone with no one to infect at my house or childcare to worry about, and I am in good health, is ashamed to tell her coworkers that she volunteered to go back because of the gossip that has gone around about me wanting to go back. I've literally had people talking bad about me behind my back because I think we have no excuse to sit in our houses and teach an ineffective distance learning curriculum while our students, who are already pretty far behind, are missing out on a year of actual education. The attendance policy is that if a student logs into a Google Classroom at all throughout the day, even for 10 seconds, that is considered present. I have one student out of my 5 who has logged in 3 times this year. There's nothing we can do about it. I spend my day usually staring at Google Meet screens of little icons and little interaction back from students. The general education classes I've seen have no differentiation going on for students where you adjust the lesson to meet the varying needs of the students. And so many students are slipping through the cracks. It's not teaching. It's not what I signed up for. It's not effective. My students hate it. I hate it. And I'm done with it. It breaks my heart that it's almost been a year without having pizza parties with my kids earning it by kicking butt. The smell of the hallways, ready to self-time where it's quiet in the room and all the students are cozied up with a good actual book, learning fractions with actual fraction blocks they can touch. The beautiful chaos of taking students on field trips where they experience the world around them. The squeals of the kids playing lava tag on the playground. The students complaining about the terrible lunches, the classes on Fridays, and even those times when I have to process with a student who is crying and mad after an argument with a peer, and all they simply need is a side hug and to be told they're worthy and what they can do better for the next time. With all that rambling, I wanted to thank you for this podcast because it has taught me that life is too short to be black and white about things. It's possible for a 27-year-old single woman living in a city who is a teacher and sometimes proud union member to be on a spectrum in her beliefs about things. It just sucks right now that I live in a world and friend group that doesn't have the space in their hearts to allow that. I want you to all know that I'm a proud member of the new club, Euphorians for Grandpa Joe. I'll keep trying to push back because the minds of the next generation are at stake. And I want to tell you something. That's the breakthrough I've been waiting for my whole life.
Wow.
We got to a Euphorian there who is willing to listen. We got to a Euphorian who was willing to realize that everything isn't one way or the other. We got to her, and I appreciate her letter tremendously.
Isn't that letter, Joe, the definition of GL?
Yes.
Meaning that we don't just see things one way or the other. We don't just vote one way or the other. It's common sense.
And when when I emailed her back over the weekend, I said, thank you. And she emailed back, you're welcome. It actually brought me to tears writing down all the things I miss about work. I also apologize for the run-on sentences. I'm a special education teacher, not an English teacher. Have a fabulous day with the family, and Red Savoy Pizza said I can't have any here in blank, the city in which she teaches.
Well,
that was
I'm thrilled, lady. I'm thrilled, Karen. You made my day with this because it's a breakthrough. It's what we're trying to accomplish here. We're not the enemy of anyone.
And I know why she did it, but how unfortunate is it that she feels that she shouldn't include either her name or the school, because that's the current state of what these teachers unions are doing.
I think that's me. I don't think she issued any specific instructions about that.
Oh, I thought, okay.
And plus she's distant enough where it's unlikely that there are fellow GL listeners in her crowd.
Man, what a great email.
She's in Milwaukee. Yeah.
Let it go at that.
Yeah. It's a breakthrough to me. It's wonderful. Karen, you are who we are trying to reach. We GLers are already in the choir. We're just trying to build the choir and hang on to the country that we know.
But do you think that even if the choir grew times 10, it still wouldn't matter? In other words,
no, we're going to build it up to about 100 million people.
Sure, but these teacher unions have such power and are aligned with the government in such a way, it's not going to matter how many people demand that these schools reopen to the fullest extent, because they're just going to hide behind their union.
Well, let's cut to Chicago.